Well, folks, it's time to kick it old school. So you can feel cool. Give it to me, baby. Baby. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, to the MC Variety Hour. Here we are. Woo! Here we are in the middle of October. We said we'd get our shit together in season 3, so this is season 2.5. No, we're trying. Things have been crazy, mostly on my end. Miles is getting ready to switch a job, so things are gonna even out for her. Hopefully that works well with what shift are you gonna be on? I didn't even ask.
No, it's okay. I'm still gonna be on first shift, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. So that'll
work so well for us.
Yeah, and I'll still have the weekends off, and we can make this work. And
no more traveling, huh?
No more traveling. So that will be really great. So I won't have to be like, hey, Crawford, I'm gonna be gone for 2 weeks. Take care of some shit.
You know what? I'm excited. I think we'll actually be on a regular schedule again. Not that it's been your fault at all. I'm not saying that.
It's always my fault, Crawford. Oh my God.
I have been missing in action the last month. I talked about it in a previous episode. But things are getting better. My son graduated rehab on Wednesday. I wasn't able to be there.
Yeah. Everybody wait. Let's do a cheers.
Woo! We should download some sound effects. And he's off to sober living now. I didn't think I brought up that his daughter, my granddaughter, was removed from the home and placed in foster care. And I've been struggling with that. The foster family is very attached to her, and it's just been really hard trying to get Emily back, which is my granddaughter. So we've been dealing with that now, but my son's doing really well. He's moved into sober living now, which is kind of like a halfway house. They'll teach him, like, he didn't get his GED, so he's going to get his GED. And then he's really, before he got into heroin, he was a commercial electrician, or he was studying to be. So he's going to do that while he's there too. He'll be there from 3 to 6 months. They'll help him get his license, his GED, his electrical certificate. And then after that, he'll be able to regain custody of a granddaughter. So we're just trying to get her out of foster care right now and back into our care in the family. So that's been what's been going on with me. So I've been just kind of depressed and just trying to get my pants on every day and make it through every day. But I had back to it. So we're just trying to, get through this process so that she can be placed with my mom, and hopefully when my son's done with his sober living, I keep wanting to call it a halfway house, he'll be able to take care of his daughter, and things will return to normal, and you won't have to travel anymore, and things will calm down for me, and we'll be able to focus on our podcast like we did last year, because we were banging them out, even though our quality sucked. You know what I mean? Our schedule was pretty right on.
There's a lot that goes into putting
a podcast together.
It does.
And on a regular schedule. And we were doing really good, but man, I would say this last year has been hard on both of us in different ways. Like, you had,
my shit with my sister and all the traveling and
right.
for work and shit with my sister, and then you had your stuff with your son and your granddaughter.
And then shit blew up on my end, and then it has literally, like, shit blows up for me, and then it calms down, and then shit blows up for Miles, and then it calms down, and we were just talking about before we hit record, like, we're really trying.
We are, and I think there's a lot of people who just think that if it gets too hard, then it's just time to walk away. And absolutely, there's a lot of podcasters I've seen who are, hey, personal life, or I just don't have time, or this isn't generating money.
I have seen that.
We don't generate money. Okay, so we've been together for over a year, and between
but I see people take long breaks.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, because, it's the same thing. Some people take long breaks, and, well, as we all know, as the American saying would go, is time is money, and...
Pretty much.
But we're not getting paid for this.
This is it's a hobby we'd like to turn into a career at some point, or to a point where we can focus. This is all we would do, and it wouldn't just be this show. Like we were talking about side projects earlier, and kind of branching out together and separately, but always keeping the podcast of us.
Absolutely.
But like this is what we're both interested in doing, and so it would just be nice if we could. So a lot of times it has to take a backseat to real life bull crap and jobs and everything.
Family life and basketball and band practices and
but
school
this is our
trips.
passion.
Understand that passions have such a way of also helping us get through this.
Right.
For both
I
of
love
us.
podcasting, even though I haven't been able to, you know what I mean? Like it's a release for me. I've had people who are like, you just need to, lessen all the shit that's you're going on. And the first thing people mention to me is but they'll say, that podcast that you do takes up too much of your time. And I'm like, literally that podcast is the only thing that keeps me fucking sane.
We love you, Crawford.
I love you, Miles. And
We love you so much. Like, I think that's people... They think that this is just like...
I call people dick faces. You're all dick faces. I didn't know that would be so popular. I've been saying that for years, but bunch of dick faces.
No, I think it's one of those things that a lot of people just don't understand is that, and I'm with Crawford. I love the podcasting community in general. I've formed a lot of, I feel, great relationships. The most recent episode I did with Rachel Miller, that episode only happened.
Great.
Oh, so good. Like, fuck. But it was because of the Married AF podcast. And I would have never known the Married AF podcast. All these things kind of came. And even like with Married AF, like I know that I could be like, hey, we're really behind. Like, can I jump on your podcast? Like, or I need a fix, or I need to talk to somebody. And what does it matter? So WDIM, we're hoping to record with them soon, and Basket Case and Politics with Dummies and all these other ones that we have lined up. Two Girls on a Bench, Drinks with Larry.
Get them in.
We are Drinks
November's
with Larry. We're gonna
great.
fucking get our fucking pods giving. I don't give a shit what you and Chad Fackler say. We're making this happen.
He still has to sit at the kids' table, though. I'm sorry, Chad. You have not graduated up yet. I know you really want to, buddy. We'll give you a big boy chair,
We love you, Chad Fackler, though. You and Jen are amazing human beings, and I can't wait for Podsgiving. I really can't. Like, I don't even care if it's in, like, April. I want it to happen so bad. And I think that the pod community, though, is a great community, and I get really excited about when things can happen. And I know that as women,
we're amazing.
We're amazing. No, we are at Crawford, and we can get preachy. But you know what? Like, this is our podcast, and we need to talk about the things that we are passionate about, not whether or not it's politically correct or whether or not it's going to suit some viewers. This is our version of the best of ourselves. And when you take in the fact that we're moms and that we work full-time jobs and that we're both trying our damnedest to make this shit work, like, you're gonna hear our point of view. And if you don't like it, then turn it the fuck off.
That's the best thing about it is you can just turn it the fuck off.
Right. Like, you don't like it. I'm sorry that this is a little, like, I know that, like, when Rachel and I, we talked quite a bit extensively, but at the same point, we had got just a really amazing woman who listened to this podcast and was super influenced by it. And
now, doesn't that make you feel good?
Dude, it does. And obviously that was more of Rachel's doing, because Rachel Miller, you're the fucking shit.
You know what? She's very popular. So, yes, she is. And
she's amazing. And, so
we're going to see her in 10 years in the Senate or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God, it'd be so great.
Like, we're just catching her on the uprise, dude. She's going to be our celebrity. Well, I don't really know her. She's going to be your celebrity friend and then mine by proxy. Like, Well, my name was on that podcast back 20 years ago, so yeah, I kind of know her.
Rachel, yeah, and she's
Is that right, Rachel?
Yeah, it is right. No, but it was a really great episode, and know that it was not only just out there, but there. Fuck, I don't have my phone on me, and I don't want to make a bunch of clicky noises on my computer, but
it wouldn't be a
but there was
Miles and Crawford podcast without some keyboard clicking.
It's so true. But there was somebody who had listened to it and was completely like invigorated by it, and started talking to a teenager that person was working with differently, by listening to Rachel. And that's the whole point of the podcast community. That's the whole point of what Crawford and I do. We talk about everything from politics to feminism to tacos, killings,
Doctor Who. I was
Doctor
thinking about this the other day.
Race relations, like you name it, bring it. I mean, let's talk about fucking Kanye and Donald Trump. I mean, whatevs.
Oh, I don't want to talk about Donald. I mean, I do. I am so disappointed in the whole Supreme Court thing. I don't even know if it's late at night for both of us. I don't know if I can get my rage up. Like
you can't get your heart on.
Yeah, like I think I speak for a lot of people who are just completely shocked. I ever since Trump took off, the headlines, we talk about this all the time. The headlines, they just one after another, taking away EPA regulations. And what was the one from yesterday or the day before that he was going to allow like more something toxic in our water supply, or I don't even know.
He doesn't give a shit. Like,
this guy is literally just taking as much money as he can. I did love that New York Times piece about his money.
Yeah,
and where they've come
nobody's
from.
fucking talking about it.
No, it's just getting buried. Like, no, we don't care, And I was talking to my son Aiden about Obama yesterday, and he brought him up, and I went, oh, like a dreamy man, like take me back to the Obama days. He wasn't a perfect president or anything, but as far as the way he conducted himself and with
the White House,
right, that's what I miss. So whether or not you liked Obama or cared for his politics or whatever else, you cannot say that he wasn't a funny president who could laugh at himself and others. He was down to earth to me, is what, totally like a guy you could have a beer with. And
you can't have a beer with Trump because he would talk about himself the entire time.
And then call you a loser and make you pick up the tab.
Exactly. Even though he's like, hey, you've got like $100 in your pocket, loser, bar tab, yours. Like, he's an ass. Like,
I don't understand our country. I guess I think we're all, and they're talking about how,
we're just letting this happen, though.
We're still just hanging on. Like, the blue side's just hanging on, and midterms are up in the air. And to me, I'm like, how is half or more than that?
But the blue side, the fucking Democrats, did you see that they're pretty much like giving him all the fucking judiciary like rights?
Yes.
Like, they're allowing him. Like, you guys are pretty much already okay with the fact that you're going to let this presidency pick 36 circuit fucking court judges. Thank you, Chuck Schumer, fine. You fucking piece of shit. Like, that was after the fucking Kavanaugh situation, you were going to pretty much, like, hand him over. No fights. Like, that was his whole bullshit. The Dems pretty much just said, go ahead and have him. You know what?
Don't get me wrong. I anymore, and I never have. I've never been able to describe myself as a Democrat or a Republican. And
Agreed.
I think the party system is silly because nobody can place themselves in one box.
Drink. Keep talking.
Okay. I will totally not fuck this up. It's like if you're not here, I'm like, I'll just edit that out later. The two-party system, though, I don't agree with it, and I don't think a lot of Americans can just put themselves in one box or another. I mean, everybody's a little bit different, and I guess I'm a cafeteria. What would you call that? Like with politics, like, I say a cafeteria Christian. They take a little bit from everything of what they want to believe and ignore the rest. And so I'm a kind of a cafeteria Democrat. I mean, I do lean left, but at the same time, I agree with Republicans on I don't agree with extreme conservatives. but middle of the road Republicans. I believe in fiscal responsibility, but I really want to see our country advance, and I don't want to see people living off welfare. I don't think that's okay. But that's like a 1% of the population of our budget. I'm sorry, that goes to those kind of programs, and the welfare queen myth that really bothers me. We can't get past a lot of these myths. We can't get past Roe versus Wade. We can't get past the death penalty. I mean, we've been fighting the same issues for the last 50 years or longer, and I'm just so tired of it. I want to see our country go into space and explore, and I want to see us have fair elections, and I want to see everybody succeed and have the American dream and not have to worry about debt. And we're supposed to be the land of the free, and the pursuit of happiness is supposed to be guaranteed to us. And how many people in America can say that they're really happy? Most of us are just trying to make it day to day. And that's not just with personal issues. I'm talking about financial, politically, just how fair. I know life isn't fair, but it's so lopsided anymore, and it doesn't need to be. And that, to me, doesn't make sense. So while you were gone, I was just describing that. I was trying to find a word for it, because I call it with Christians, I call them cafeteria Christians, where they just pick and choose what they want to believe and ignore the rest. That's kind of how I am with politics, because, there are some, I'm not going to say that I can't reach across the aisle, because I can. I do agree with Republicans, moderate Republicans, on some issues like fiscal responsibility. I'm not big on having a huge military budget. I am big on social programs. I believe in a healthy, strong, educated populace, as far as our country goes. And I think that's what makes us a strong country, is by investing in our people and also investing in our infrastructure, because it's fucking crumbling. And that's what bothers me the most. So that's kind of where I was going.
No, I completely agree. And I think it's one of those things that a lot of people just don't understand. It's not... I agree with Crawford here. This isn't about being Democrat or Republican. It's... I was showing Crawford these fucking messages I was getting the other day that says, you're not a fucking liberal, you're a leftist, and this guy was just berating the fuck out of me on Facebook, and I'm
he's such an ass.
Dude, fuck you! Oh my god. Oh god. Yeah. So,
I don't like what people try to tell me about myself, because the only person that knows about me is me. So don't tell me who I am and what I am. I mean, go ahead and check me when I'm wrong, but don't tell me who the fuck I am.
Right. And this guy was all about trying to fucking tell me who I was and what I believed. And I was like, first of all, and I had legitimately put this whole conversation on Facebook had started because of a friend had put out why people don't believe in climate change. And I was like, because they're fucking morons. But I really did put this saying, like, it was much more like simpler, which, people, they don't want to believe, they have these false ideologies, this self of identity, blah, 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 like they don't want their reality to crumble, etc., etc. Nothing that was Republican or Democratic or scientific. It was just my point of view. Well, then this guy chimes in and puts his point of view, and all I replied to was identity, because he was declaring his identity through climate change. And which to me means that, look, you are claiming your sense of reality and who you are based on the fact that, like, you only identify with the things, as you said, cafeteria Christians, things that apply to you, things that make your view look good. They're wrong, but whatever, you got it. And then he went on this whole fucking dick face, thank you, Crawford, fucking
it's
moment.
It's the word of the year.
It is. And this whole entire moment where, he's just fucking going crazy. And I'm like, dude, I'm not even here to fight you. All I said, and I'm like, if this is the God that you believe in, like, you're still wrong. Like, your opinion to me is wrong. You are, as a human being, are allowed to be alive, and you are allowed to believe these things. My personal opinion of you, though, is that you're wrong. And that you are so, incensed with who you are, and that only, like, we are so fucking wrong that you are so fucking right. And that's your God. His God believes, that he is right and that all of us are wrong. And he just goes on this barrage, like, over and over and over again. Like, it was hilarious. I can't wait. Like, if I'm going to figure out how I can just, like, black out his name and then put up the,
I was just thinking that to do the screenshots, and I could tell you how. I'm not going to go through it, but I'll show you how to do it.
Yeah, thank you.
If you send me the screenshots, I could just do it and send it back to you, actually. I don't, unless there's more you want to add to it. I don't know if there's
No, I just want to add, like, WordPress as part of our, like, follow-up. Like, this is this really bullshit conversation that I have to have, and somebody gets to tell me what my politics are. And I said, this isn't about being a leftist or a liberal. Like, I don't think that your politics are correct. I also know that this gentleman who is commenting follows the Proud Boys. And for those of you who don't know who the Proud Boys are, I've talked about them in several other podcasts, but the Proud Boys are a very scary, very... they believe in violence. They believe that violence is the only way to the answers. They believe in hanging people. They believe in setting people on fire. Like, these are a very violent group of human beings that I'm trying not to fuck with, only because there's about half a dozen to a dozen that live in my current town. And even with 40,000 people, these 12 gentlemen will get together, and I know that they are capable of very bad things, and I don't want them to harm me or my family based on the fact that I don't like Donald Trump, and I believe in rights for women, and I believe in equality, and I believe that the earth is going to be set on fire or go into a massive ice age, depending how this all works out, and that pretty much right now I don't have the opportunity for grandchildren. Right. Like,
our future generations are so fucked.
Yeah, like, I don't even want to talk kids to my kids because I really do believe that their generation is so fucked. Like, they're talking about 2040 is 2040. Yes. You're talking in 20 years. I will be 55 years old. I will just hopefully be turning a grandmother to my I don't want grandbabies. If
well,
that's
you want
the
your
world
kids
they're going to live in, you know, like, I want them, but, like, I can't. I'm not gonna ask my kids. I'm not gonna. How do you explain, you know, global warming? Like, hey, by the way, you probably shouldn't plan on having children because
there'll be no world for them.
Yeah. Like, and how fucking shitty is that? Like, how shitty is that?
We already have to deal with that with our own children. Like, your kids are a little bit younger than mine, but I have a granddaughter who's 1. So she's part of that, you know, so she's behind your kids by about 10 years.
She's going to be in her 30s by the time all this shit hits. She's going to be our age.
Yes, and so, you know, it just makes me sad for her. You know, I'm living that. You know, I do feel bad. You know, I do have a granddaughter, and I worry. No, that's my second generation. You know, that's a branch off of me, and I don't know what's going to happen to her. You know, eventually I'm going to die someday, and I don't know what kind of world she's going to be left in, or my kids. And
right, and because we believe we want to do something to change that, and because we don't think. It's not that there's not some, I mean, look, would I be surprised that, like, global warming is some hoax? Actually, I would actually be very surprised that all the scientists are fucking wrong, but,
yes,
I mean.
Science only works in certain situations. You ever notice that? Like, science is total bullshit until it somehow bolsters an opinion, and then suddenly... It's like, this is some scientific evidence I found. It's
right.
like,
and here's the thing, like, wrap their heads around this, and not only that, but, like, you want women to breed kids that will breed grandchildren that will then overpopulate the earth, which will then only spin us more into a fucking ice age or heroic flame meltdown faster than what we already are. And we're also not allowed to believe in stopping that because then we're leftist, liberal, snowflake fucks. And then as well, because of the time that we want to talk about rape, domestic violence, and all the other terrible things that happen to us, we're also a bunch of fucking feminist Nazis. Like,
I'm a feminist Nazi. Wait until you see the uniform I so. It was beautiful.
I mean, I am very curious. Like, I don't understand how people don't get the are there movements that are happening? So the WAFL had Productions put out this whole thing where they said, you know, the difference between the hashtag metoo and the hashtag time's up. And I don't hashtag time's up for me is for rich people.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's for rich people who can get away with it. Hashtag time's up is why Louis C.K. can still get on stage and why Aziz Ansari can still have a TV show.
Right.
Hashtag time's up is for people Harvey Weinstein actually just got let go of like X amount of his own charges. Hashtag time's up is for rich people who can get out of the Me Too movement and not have their careers damaged. And the hashtag Me Too was a way for women to let each other, not you men, by the way, and that's nothing towards anybody specifically, just so we all also understand that, but men, the Me Too movement wasn't to degrade all men. It was not to degrade male rape victims or males who were a part of child trafficking or males who had their own problems. Hashtag Me Too was for a way for women to start a network for ourselves so we could be a support for one another. And then they capitalized on that and they turn it into Hollywood fame, which was hashtag time's up, which means that they were going to call out, you know, when James Franco went ahead and, you know, slammed down, what was her name? The blonde.
I remember that. She was 17, but had sent him pictures. He was at a hotel or whatever else.
And there's all kinds of things and there's stories, but it's about the women of Hollywood coming forward and letting them know about the men of Hollywood that had gotten away with this. Kevin Spacey's and the Harvey Weinsteins and the Aziz and the Louis C.K.'s, and they grouped them all together as a hashtag time's up. So that was for rich people who could make money still even after they were offended. Like after they were Chris Hardwick. All those people who could be damaged, quote unquote, by the Me Too movement, but not permanently. And the Me Too movement,
like
at least
just a tarnish.
A tarnish. Like, by the way, time's up, bitch. Like, I'm going to rat you out. But then you can come back out to the limelight.
Now, did you see that there's also a hashtag going around called himtoo?
Oh, from that mom with the Navy son? Oh, my God.
I think that was just a blip on Twitter, but, like...
No, it's turned in from himtoo to wetoo. So they now turned in the himtoo movement into the wetoo movement because, again, the hashtag we2 or TOO, was supposed to be there as for, like, men to, again, a movement for men who were violated.
To protect themselves.
Not to protect themselves, but like to create their own network. So there was Me Too. And then wetoo was for a way for men who were sexually raped or, like, you know, things that happened to them.
I totally find that validating. I have no problem. I know.
But here's a problem. Here's the problem. Is that the he too, quote unquote, or hashtag, that turned into women are falsely accusing all of these men. And that he too has been falsely accused.
Yeah.
As in Brett Kavanaugh was false. Which is not correct, obviously.
Oh my
which
God!
Then turned
His fucking
into
fit throwing and crying.
Yes.
I mean,
so now they're trying to take over all the hashtags to make it look like that you
men are the victims. You know what? I sexually assaulted you, and I am the victim here.
Yes,
because you called me out on it.
Right. So they turned male victims who are legitimately trying to find a way to stop the masculinity pride bullshit. And trying to come out with their own truth and their own, because, you know, we know male victims, and that shit's real, and that shit does fuck you up. Like, and there's no problem. And if you need a network that's not full of a bunch of women, I get that. I get that you don't want to talk to women who may be rape survivors too because you're a man, and we don't. In my opinion, and I could be wrong, but there is a difference between women and men who are raped. And not that rape is rape. I don't want you to take my words out of context here.
No, absolutely.
But the way that we're violated and the way that you're violated does two different...
Are men and women.
Yeah, yes. The trauma is different. The trauma... But the same thing that both me and Crawford could both be raped, and me and her could take away two different situations of that traumatic effect, right? Like, and so we need to find our own networking that would work to help us get through that trauma.
When we talk about sexual assault, do we talk about sexual abuse as well? Because I know men who were sexually abused. And to me, that's a form of sexual assault. I mean, you don't need to be a grown man and be sexually assaulted. It could be, to me, you know, I know men who have been, so I'm a sexual abuse survivor myself by different perpetrators and for years on end. So to me, I feel young men who were sexually abused, and I understand their struggle. So what do you think about that? Like, even though we feel it in a different way, do you think that sexual assault and sexual abuse, I mean, the two sides of the same coin?
It's very difficult for me to label anything the difference between sexual abuse and sexual assault. I know that there's definitely a difference, and I don't take away from men who are or who have been sexually abused or sexually assaulted. I want to let you know that I hear you and I feel you, and I'm here to talk to you about it. I have a very, very, very close male friend who we see eye to eye on nothing in life, but I also know his background is very difficult and a road that was way less taken. But I think that I'm not going to sit there and say, though, however, as Crawford said, like, me and her have both gone through some form of assault, but hers was way different than mine. And I don't want to compare, I think, maybe. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I've experienced both in my young years and then as an adult woman. You know what I mean? So,
and then trying to, like, compare that as to how a man or a boy, and most of them are boys, and how that drastically changes their masculinity persona is the same way that it changes our feminist persona. Because some women grow from it or we dive into it. Because, you know, I explained this to my husband the other night where I said, at some point between these two situations and then this fucking emotionally and sometimes physically abusive relationship, I just let whatever happened to me happen. And not because the guys in between, none of them truly sexually assaulted me. But I was only doing it because I knew that fighting them off wasn't going to pay. There was no... What was I going to do?
It was just easier to take it.
Oh my God, it was so much easier. Just, exactly, lay there and take it. Like, and that's also a very frightening sentence to sit there and say.
That's a sexual abuse mindset. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like, I'm just going to lay here and say, okay.
But, you know, with sexual assault, it has a much nastier word, assault. You know, abuse is one thing. You know, but assault.
Like, I don't.
Yeah, see, I'm literally just thinking this out. You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference there between abuse and assault? Where's the age that it changes from being sexual abuse to sexual assault? And what are the mitigating factors for that? Like, what qualifies one from the other? You know, because sexual abuse can be very traumatic and violent, and also people who are raped when they're adults, it's not always violent, but it's still very violating, and it's still awful when it happens, but it's not always a violent, like Miles and I were just saying about just laying there and taking it. So maybe that's what the difference is assault is when somebody violently takes it from you. So you can be sexually assaulted as a child, obviously, and you can be sexually abused as an adult when you just lay there and take it, you know?
Yeah.
You weren't, to me, assault, because there's felonious assault, aggravated assault, and they all have to do with physically harming somebody in a violent way where you leave bruises, whereas abuse is more of, I did this to you, but there's no marks. on your butt. You know, do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Does that make sense? I don't want to offend people.
Oh, Rachel, like I really wish that Rachel was here right now because she would definitely.
Rachel, can we just dub her in? Can we just have her listen to the last 10 minutes and then give her thoughts and we'll splice her in like she was here. She's just been, Rachel, I know that you've been quiet this whole time and I just think maybe you could chime in right here. Mm-hmm. See? Boom.
Boom. Done.
Boom.
But I think it's one of those things too that even as, and you're talking like right now for those who are listening are talking to two women who have both been through the ringer on different levels and different aspects. And I
think most women have.
Yeah.
On some level.
On some level. But we've also, and I've always said that, like, what I've been through, like, me and another girl could go through almost the exact same situation, but our trauma from it is completely different.
Yes, because of how you process those things and your own character, right? So it might destroy one person, whereas another person
it makes them stronger.
Makes them stronger, you know?
Exactly, and I think that's kind of the difference between, again, the Me Too and the Time's Up. Like, I think that
you don't understand those lasting effects. It doesn't matter if you did that 20 years ago and you're a different person.
Yeah,
at 20 years later, it still has affected me as a person. I still remember it. It's still a trauma for me.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're a better person and everything, but you traumatized. You know, it's something that I won't ever forget. That doesn't flash through my memory occasionally. You know.
Well, exactly, and even my husband sat there. We were talking about this last night, and we were sitting outside. Was that last night? Yeah, it had to be last night, or maybe the night before. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Timelines, but he was talking about a situation where he was with a girl, and in high school, and he's like, man, I've really had to think about that because I was trying for something. She didn't want it, but then she kind of did. But she didn't want it, but she kind of did. But it was like a makeout session. It wasn't, sex, But at the same time, it was one of those things where he's like, God, I really hope that wasn't. I hope that she knows that it was more of me being like, are you into it? Oh, you're not? Okay, cool. Like, like he was completely cool. Like, you don't want to do? Okay, fine, we won't. Should I go for it again? Because look, let's be admitted, women. Like, there's sometimes we're like, not just quite yet. Like let's just feel this out for a little while longer. And sometimes it leads into something, and sometimes it doesn't. And teenage hormones definitely get. And I'm not giving anybody a bypass. Please don't take that as well. But in that aspect where I was almost humbled by the fact that he was admitting. To the fact that if this happened and I made her feel bad, I'm going to feel even more like shit because that was not my intention. Like, my intention was that we were making out. It could lead to more. Okay, it's not. Like, but you want to continue making out. Cool. Should I try again? Should I not try again? That's a slippery slope, And there's men who will sit there who are good men that will feel guilty about the fact that maybe I did, but I didn't mean to. And that's okay. But then there's men who say, I don't give a shit. Like,
right.
Because if I know that he could tell and he remembers 20, 30 years later,
yes.
How
I like
this
beer.
If he remembers that she may not have been into it, if he remembers that, and he could tell then that maybe she didn't want it, then I really have an honest feeling that most men know that when women pull away, that when they're not really showing interest.
Right, you can tell.
You can tell. Our bodies, our hips, everything about us move into a direction. And when we're ready, we're ready. Also,
we move in for the kill.
Yeah, dude, we're ferocious as fuck. Like, when we want to have sex, we want to have sex. And we're going to let you know that it's time. Like, we have no problem with it, okay? But when we're not doing those things, or you are constantly, like, we've been together, me and my husband have been together for 15 years, and he knows, even when we're doing it kind of just to do it, like, when there's days where I'm like, God, it has been like 2 weeks.
Dude, have you just had,
like, we should just fucking
talk
have
about
sex.
your day sex?
Yeah. Like,
you're like, you know what, this is really weird, but I'm also into it, so please don't stop.
Yeah, like, I'm not, like, into it, and to be like, and I love him, like, and he's great. And don't get me wrong, but like, I think that all women
But
can
it scratches
admit,
that itch, you know. So
yeah, it scratches the itch, and you're good. And like, but there's been plenty of times.
Dry cleaning? Yeah, I did. Could you lift your thigh?
Yeah, and there's just times like, honestly, that I just want to have sex to have sex. I don't need it to like get off, you know, or to do any of those
It's
things.
the
Like,
poor people's way of going to the spa. You know, we're like, you know, we can't go, so let's just you're not gonna put any effort into this. I actually just kind of want to relax through this, so
yes, exactly. And men can tell the difference. I'm sorry, but like, men absolutely can tell a difference when a woman wants to really have sex with you, kind of have sex with you, or like totally not into it. And there's not a point in our bodies, like, there is not. I don't care whether you are fucking 15 or 21 or whatever your age bracket is. Every woman's body twitches and works into a way to let you know that this is not happening, that she's not enjoying this. There is, all men, and I don't care. You've been married, you guys have been together, it's a fresh new girlfriend, whatever it is that you got going on, you know, the good men out there, you guys know when she's not into it. And when she's not into it, that's when you should check in. And in 15 years, my husband, I will say, has always checked in. And since the time that we were dating, from the time that we've been married, and I have been very lucky.
He's the best.
He is. God, he's such an asshole, but I love him.
I know.
And but he is the best in that situation. That like he
We
has
hate
always
and love
checked in.
you.
Yeah. God, just love
We love to hate you and hate to love you.
Yeah. But he knows, like, when it's, you know, when I'm not really into it, you know, but I'm like, I'm into it, but I'm into it, you know. But he checks in, like, dude, do you want to, like, keep going? Like, yeah, dude, let's do this. What do you want me to do? Like, I'll do whatever you need me to do. And it's not, like, in some weird, like, paralysis, like, abusive mentality, like, just do what you gotta do. It's not that. It's more of, like, yeah, like, I mean, I'm not, but, like, I'm not against it either, you know. But I appreciate the fact that we've been together for 15 years, and then over 15 years, he's always checked in. He's always made sure that, like, I'm okay. That even if I'm not feeling it, even if he knows there's no way I'm getting off tonight, that, like, I'm cool with what's happening. And if I'm not, and whenever ever I've not been, it's fine. There's never been a guilt trip. There's never been, like, oh my God, like, you know. Yeah, like, I mean, he makes jokes here and there, which all men do. I mean, I don't give a shit. Even I'll give jokes like, shit, man, we haven't had sex in like 3 weeks, man. Like, fuck. Like, we should probably have sex just to, like, have sex. Like,
Just to do it.
to make sure our marriage isn't dead.
That's like regular maintenance.
Mm-hmm. But I think that those are the things that a lot of people just don't understand. Is that, or what bad men don't understand, is that we've shown you that we don't want this. You chose not to listen. You know that we don't appreciate what you're doing, and you chose not to listen. And I get that it's really hard when some of you sit there and think about all those times that you might have pushed those boundaries. And I'm really sorry if that brings up bad memories, but I'm not, because some of those memories for us stayed. Because even if we just stayed just to put out because we didn't know what else to do, and it wasn't because you were a bad person, but because, you know, our own shit that we had going on, you know, that's a responsibility of humanity. Everybody talks about God and religion and all these things and about this sense of civility and camaraderie. Well, that's kind of our thing. Right now, we're not asking you to say, I'm sorry for everything you've ever done. We're just asking that you admit it. And in all honesty, had Brett Kavanaugh really sat there and admitted to his mistakes, had he not had some mental fucking male breakdown, I still wouldn't have liked him to be on the Supreme Court, but I would have appreciated him more as a human being.
That he appreciated that he grew from that experience and understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the fact that
I
like,
think
he didn't.
human forgiveness is important.
No, and he never even apologized.
No, he was combative and he cried and he screamed and he pounded his fist. You know what I mean? Like
He
he
made
was
himself
so
a victim.
over the top. Yes, I'm the victim here.
Exactly, and that's the problem, man. We're not here to bash on anybody. We're here to simply say, check yourselves. Because if you're not married, and you don't have a very true relationship with a woman, start to understand where some of us are coming from, because there's so many of us who are survivalists that if you want to make us better and you want us to heal and you want us to help not be maybe so fucking angry all the time, you would listen to us, and not just our words, but you would listen to our bodies, and you would respect what we have to give. And even though you might have blue balls,
Body language
is huge.
Maybe
and
we should teach
respect
that in high schools. Body language 101.
It should be. There's so many things that should be taught in high schools that just aren't being taught in high schools, and that's why I always talk about sex as soon as possible, as early as you can be, because you're damn straight that I don't want my 15-year-old kid, whenever he becomes 15, I don't ever want him to put a girl in that situation unintentionally without him understanding. Like, dude, you might feel kind of bad, but she's going to feel really fucking shitty for the rest of her life. So think about your actions. This isn't about being shitty. It's just about, hey, by the way, like, we're not trying to say go back and call every person you ever had sex with and made sure that there was consent there.
No.
None of us are asking that. We're just saying, hey, by the way, if you
listen to the people who are coming out, and just
listen to the people who are coming out. Right?
That's not right. That's yeah.
Okay, I'm off my soapbox. I'm really sorry. Crawford, how are you?
You love. You know what? I think that I'm gonna get you. You know those mats that they put in restaurants and bars for people who stand for a long time so your feet don't hurt? The big black rubber mats. I'm gonna get you one for Christmas for your soapbox.
I'm so sorry.
No. That wasn't you on your soapbox. We were both talking. So I got some. Yes, girl. Preach. Amen.
I apologize. I took over the mic for way too long on that one.
No. You always do. That's what our listeners love about you.
No, but they love
even
you.
Say it.
They miss you. We miss you, Crawford.
No, they love you. They're always like, we need Miles ranting.
No. We need the Crawford calling everybody dick faces, okay?
You know what? There are such a range of dick faces. You can be like, you fucking snarky dick face. You bitchy dick face. I'm not even sure if dick face is a verb, a noun. It just exists out there. Maybe I came up with it because apparently it's quite the hit. You know, everybody's calling each other dick faces in our little community, and I love it. Like, I'm so glad that I've been saying it since I was like 20, probably. I mean, a long time now, and nobody's ever really been like, really, dick face? What's that? You know what? I don't think that calling people a cocksucker is rude. I'm like, thank you, yes. You know what I think is an insult? A dick biter. Like, isn't that worse? Like, you dick biter. There's no way where that's okay. That's nice. That's just an insult to anybody.
I agree.
How dare you? Not only did you put it in your mouth, but then you bit on it.
Mine was always fuck rag.
That's a pretty good one.
And they were like, what the hell is a fuck rag? And I was like,
I don't know, but it makes me feel better when I say it.
A fuck rag is when you get done fucking and there's a mess everywhere, so you need to wipe yourself off. That's what you are. That's your worth. Your worth is somebody who... No. A fuck rag is like, you are the worth of just that random thing that you try to find on the floor to clean your shit up with.
You know what?
That's what you're worth. You are a fuck rag.
Sometimes your kid will pick up that towel later and you're like, don't touch that.
Right. So when I call you a fuck rag, that means I don't even want my kid to touch you. Okay? So, like, that's your value. 2 decades ago, I was young. And I was
well, you know what? I love it. And we're going to put that into our rotation now.
Fuck rag.
So that
dick
orange...
faces and fuck rags.
That orange dick-faced dick rag. Fuck rag, sorry.
Yeah,
That,
yeah.
That
Or
orange.
dick rag. I mean, honestly,
Or-
because most of the mess comes from the men.
No, I like to scoop. You know what I'm saying? I like to go to bed dry. Yeah. That's really gross. We really took it. We really took it down.
We took it too far.
No.
No,
We will never,
we
we will
never
never
take it
take
too
it
far.
That was almost in tandem right there. That was almost one voice.
That really was. That was.
That's great.
Crawford.
Yeah.
What's going through your head right now? We haven't heard from you in a while. Like, we love you. Let's talk about. Let's let you take the floor.
Man, no, I kind of went into what's going on with me in the beginning, honestly, and I don't know, just trying to survive each day. Oh, have I mentioned that I got approved to be a medical marijuana patient here in Ohio?
You mentioned it, but have you been able to score any?
No, because it was supposed to be fully implemented in September, and I just saw a news article the other day where, like, the plants are just, like, little saplings. So I'm thinking it's going to be, like, around the first of the year. I got certified back in August, which means you have to get recertified every year. I'm going to lose 6 months of my certification because I do not have access, and it was supposed to, I signed up because it was supposed to be up. They don't even have the patient registry up right now. So I'm really pretty upset about that.
You should be, but I hear that Yellow Springs is going to be the hop-in place to go.
Somebody else told me that too, or maybe it was you.
I think I posted on Facebook.
No, somebody sent it to me in a message, and it was in all caps. It just said Yellow Springs, and I was like, yeah, but Yellow Springs is a little far away, I think, isn't it? I mean,
from Upper, nope, not from, sorry, I'm not trying to give away your place that you're living.
No, I don't care. I live in Upper Sandusky, Ohio, everybody. And the reason why it's upper is because it's up above regular Sandusky. For anybody that wondered why there's a Sandusky and an Upper Sandusky, because we are further up on the Sandusky River, although we are south. But that's why, because I was like, why is this called Upper Sandusky? Well, it's further up on the Sandusky River. But if you look, I don't know. I'll have to look at Sandusky map, but Sandusky is further north than Upper Sandusky. So I'm not real sure how that, but you know what?
Welcome to Ohio.
Also, Tree City, USA, which means that I have seen bugs I've never seen in my life. The more trees that you live around, the more weird bugs that you will come across. Like,
agreed.
I've never seen a spider like that before. I got some real cute ones around here.
That's good.
Like
Yellow Springs is only about an hour and 45 minutes.
Really?
I mean, I know it sounds long, but it's really not. Like, because here
Don't
in
be
Ohio, it's
Yeah.
it's all country roads. You're basically taking, the back way to
Can you
Dayton.
imagine how packed that store is? Constantly, all
Yellow
the time.
Springs is
If
like,
that's the only one in Ohio, do you know?
Oh,
You know what
yeah.
I mean?
It's gonna be crazy, but that's like it's actually the one trip I haven't gone on this year, which I'm pissed. I've actually been making a Yellow Springs trip every year for the last 5 years.
I really have never even been.
Oh my god, I love Yellow.
Are you offered to take me to
Yes.
Yellow Springs?
Yes.
We will go.
Yeah.
I had
I'm not
emailed.
driving there in the winter. I love you, but
Right,
like I'm
but
not
we-
taking those county fucking snowy ass roads. I ain't doing it.
Okay. We'll go in the spring. Or
Yes,
we'll go
because I go there. It's amazing. Oh, Crawford, you're gonna love it. There are they have this. Oh my god.
Is it the place that has the arts festival?
One of many, yes. But they also, Crawford, they have this bookstore that the
I love books.
No, but the books are still on the floor because there's so many used books there. Like, you could spend like 3 hours, like the fines, like the $5 book fines. And get this, you walk into a store and downstairs is all this like handmade jewelry stuff. That's just awesome. Great. And then you walk upstairs and it's all vinyl records. Old school
that's
vinyl
so cool.
records. Oh my god.
You know what that reminded me of? And I haven't thought of the store in forever, and it was in Findlay. It was a little house that was wedged by Dillon's and in that one store on the end. It was like a comic book store. It changed, but there was a little house in between those buildings, and she had a little shop.
Yes.
And it was her house, and you went in, and she had stuff upstairs and downstairs. I haven't thought of that in probably 20 years, and you just talking about that reminded me of being in a place like that. But I don't know whatever happened. You know what I mean? That's weird. When you just something occurs to you, like, you know what? I just remembered that lady had a little shop. I mean, everything was for sale in our house, and you just don't see that anymore.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
everything is so.
But that's all of Yellow Springs. I'm talking like you go there and some of like their own store vendors aren't even wearing shoes. Like they're just sitting outside drinking a beer while you go inside and shop.
Just let me know what you want, man.
Dude, I will take you down there. Oh my god, I love that place. That is.
Let's figure out a way to podcast on the road.
Yes.
MC Radio Hour, Yellow Springs edition.
Oh, that'd be so great.
It won't even be a solid hour. It'll be like, 10 minutes where we're here and we'll just splice it all together. Like, so this is how our day. We'll narrate
you're
it.
gonna get the marijuana, and then suddenly we're both like super stoned.
Okay, so this is about 3:30 in the afternoon. We've been to a couple of spots, had a couple of drinks. The sun was hot. You know what I mean? And then it'll be 20 minutes of us talking. And then,
and then getting super stoned and being on the conversation.
Yeah. That's just how I live my life.
I like it. I like that life, though. It's a good life. It's a very good life. So
it's a relaxed life.
It is. It is. And you're getting ready. You got to make some dip for your work, right?
You know what? I am going to, make a 9-layer dip for the Ohio State game tomorrow because I work 11 to 5 tomorrow.
Who are we playing tomorrow?
Thank you for asking. I don't know. It's been, what's funny is I work in a gambling establishment as well, and there's all kinds of, stuff that says who they're playing this week so people can bet and whatever, and,
you don't remember.
I'm like, I don't even remember what's it say on that top line.
That's okay. That's okay.
You know what? The Browns. Can we talk about the Browns for just a second?
Yes.
They won 2 games now, I think. I don't follow sports, but the Browns are such a legend for losing that I do know when the Browns win, I'm like, that's actually a big deal.
That's a very big deal.
That's ingrained in you as an Ohioan.
I think the Browns are going to have a better fucking year than New York Giants. So
yeah, the Browns are just they laugh, and so they're the laughing stock of Ohio football. And so when they win, everybody's like, oh, I think that's a big deal.
It's going to be so great. I love the Browns.
Suddenly people are wearing their Brown shirts again.
Yeah, everybody's all like proud to be Browns fans. I'm like, look, I will not jump on the bandwagon. I was never a Browns fan. I'm not against them.
I can tell by your face.
But yeah, I can't. I just wasn't. Look, I'm sorry. Kansas City Chiefs, Oakland Raiders, New York Giants, San Francisco 49ers. Those have been my 4 teams for as long as I've been watching footballs, which was like 11 or 12 that I got into it. So those are my teams. I've stuck with them year after. Well, the Giants, I'm not going to lie. The Giants, I didn't really become fans of until about like 12 or so years ago when I was pregnant, when I got back into watching NFL. Oakland Raiders came from the days that I hung out with all my Tupac and Biggie fans. Kansas City Chiefs came from my father, and the San Francisco 49ers came from Joe Montana days. That's how those first 3 were picked. Oh, God, Joe Montana. Yeah. And then, but the Giants, when I got pregnant with my first child, I was living in Fargo, North Dakota, and there's nothing to do in Fargo after the month of October because it's so fucking cold. So I started watching sports because I was pregnant as fuck and I was working first shift, and I just ate and sat at home and got fat, and it was awesome. So I started watching football, and the New York Giants, that was one of the years they won the Super Bowl, and they were my favorite team, and I liked their colors, and that's what happened. But that's how I started to like them, and I remained a fan regardless of the fact that they had a 2-10 year last year, and right now Eli Manning needs to sit the fuck on the bench, and we're having a shitty start to my year. We have also Crawford, just so you know, in our fantasy football team. We are still losing. We have yet to win a single match. So
I had a whole lot more faith in you.
I had a whole lot more faith in me too. Apparently I suck.
You just sounded like a total pro on sports, and now you're like, but you know what? I'm just joking though, because the guys, I hear guys talking about and they do terrible too.
Yeah, so we're doing really terrible.
I'm sorry,
I want to let you know that
all of my friends that do fantasy football, not just guys.
Sometime before the Super Bowl, we might have an entire podcast dedicated talking about how much we suck at sports and how great whoever wins our fantasy football and podcast pandemonium is. So we were really close. There was 2 weeks that we only
Almost got it, huh?
Almost got it, and somehow something fucked up. So my bad. Totally my fault. MC Variety Hour, blame it on Miles. We may have some. I'm hoping that we can win some, and that somebody does just slightly worse than us.
You know what?
Right now it's just us.
I'm cool with just being the. I don't want to be. Nobody wants to be in last place.
No, but we'll take it with pride because we actually are the only females on the fantasy football team. So
you know what? When I was growing up, my family, I had 3 brothers that played football, and my dad. That's all that was ever on TV was football. So I grew up watching football until I was like 17 or 18, and then my dad passed on. And my boyfriend's not really a big sports fan either, and neither one of my kids were, so I've just kind of fallen out of it. But because I'm a bartender, I have to stay on top of when games are, and I have to pretend when people are talking, I'm like, oh yeah, they're having a good year. I'm trying to pull Google out of my pocket real quick for stats. Yeah, they're 3-0, man. That's pretty great.
That's so great. That's so great.
Check out the logo on their shirt real quick. See which way I'm supposed to go.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Oh my goodness. Hey, look, we're gonna wrap this up because it's past midnight our time, and you've got some shit to do, and I need to hit the bed.
have to work in the morning, and you have things to do tomorrow.
I sure
and then
do.
We might be podcasting with some friends of ours.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
It'll be soon, but I hope that we'll be podcasting with oh my god,
WDIM.
I couldn't get the acronym out. I'm sorry.
What does it matter?
I know, but I couldn't. I wanted to say DWIM, and I was like, no.
We still love you, Sean. Don't worry. He lost his kitty cat recently, so we'll show him extra love.
That is the worst thing in the world.
It was 20 years old.
Oh, lived to its prime.
Yeah.
I got a 10-year-old cat. I know my time is limited with her, so but I love her to death. But anyways, we're gonna wrap this up because I'm just rambling, and that's what we should call it. Rambling on with Crawford.
I like that. We can change it. Fuck it. We'll change everything.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in for another amazing episode of the MC Variety Hour.
Hey, Crawford, where can they find us?
They can find us virtually everywhere. I mean, we have permeated the internet. I know that we have appeared in Reddit posts a couple times because we posted our stuff there. Twitter, we're big on. Facebook, we post our posts on, but we don't get a lot of interaction, but that's cool. People still can find us there. milesandcrawford.com. Any streaming platform. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, and you can probably find us on any podcast streaming service that you use. We're out there now. We're finally in there. We're listed. It's amazing. So I don't know what we're going to talk about next week, but we will be back with another episode next week too.
We will, bitches. We will be back. We'll
and
stomp some ground. We will fucking set the world on fire.
Maybe we'll put 2 episodes out and just kill people with our commentary. Okay, I don't even have time to listen to all this. It'll take people 3 weeks to catch up. And then we're waiting on you for once. Come on, catch up. Just kidding. No. We'll be back with another episode next week, though. We're back on it. So I don't know what we're going to talk about.
We'll see what happens.
Variety. Haha.
All right, guys. We love you.
Have an amazing afternoon, evening, morning.
And give us your money.
Oh, yeah. Buy us some coffee or become a patron on Patreon. And, yeah, I think that's it. I don't really know. Is that good?
We'll hit the stop button now.